Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the Flamin' Hot Grilled Cheese Burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
How's your day going?
Going good, thank you, yes.
Check out the all-new Blue and Orange store at the Boise State Hall of Fame. The Blue and Orange store has your best game day gear. We're talking jerseys, hats, bumper stickers, car flags, more than 4,000 hats on the hat wall. If you want the best Boise State gear, make sure you check out the Blue and Orange store online at theblueandorangestore.com or the all-new Blue and Orange store down at the Boise State Allen Noble Hall of Fame.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
Really, guys?
What? Jackson's always has this game right.
Let's go!
It's the all-wheel drive event at Lithia Ford of Boise. From hunting trips to ski trips to trips to Grandma's house. Nobody does AWD like LFB. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust rowpaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live is the only daily show that talks nothing but Boise State sports. And we do it with you. Give us your comments or questions in the ICCU YouTube chat. Or leave us a voicemail on the Signature Roofing voice inbox at speakpipe.com/BNN. BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise, and our major sponsors, Taco Bell, Idaho Central Credit Union, RoadPaint.com, and the Blue and Orange Store. At Lithia Ford of Boise, we're proud to stand with Boise State Athletics. Through our NIL marketing partnerships, we're investing in the future of student athletes. Lithia Ford of Boise, here to get you there, wherever that may be. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Broadcasting from the Sun Cruiser Studios, here's BJ Rains with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Well, Well, tough life, Mike Prater, but somebody has to do it. San Diego, California, Boise State, San Diego State tomorrow night at Viejas Arena. Overcast, actually some rain today. I know you feel sorry for us out there, Bronco Nation, but excited to be here in San Diego, getting you set for Boise State and San Diego State tomorrow night at Viejas Arena. My name is BJ Rains. We welcome in Mike Prater, host of Prater in the Ball Game, weekdays 3 to 6 KTIK, and also a columnist for us here at BNN. We got transfer portal stuff to talk about. We got basketball going on tomorrow. All kinds of good stuff here in the Sun Cruiser Studios. How we doing, Mike Prater?
Doing well, BJ. How you doing? It's good to see you there. It's after watching the Rose Bowl yesterday in California, a little bit of rain, a little bit of overcast. It's like it's leaked into San Diego, and it's all good. It's certainly better than it is where the rest of us are in the middle of the mountain country still. So dealing with winter, dealing with a little bit of cold, but it could be a lot worse for both of us, right?
No doubt, no doubt. We are going to compete to see who has worse Wi-Fi today, Mike Prater. You or me? Both of us are looks like a little spotty. Hopefully I'm okay. Mike's making this work while he's on a family vacation here, so we appreciate Mike doing that, and we're going to kind of just push through and hope it's good enough to get through the show here today. But yeah, wet Rose Bowl yesterday, Southern California dealing with a lot of rain, but excited to be here for the basketball game tomorrow. We have transfer portal news. I guess that's probably where we need to start, Mike Prater. And again, our title sponsor here is Lithia Ford of Boise. If you missed this yesterday, our new title sponsor, Jim Sturk, Jamie Drake. Not surprised when there's a spot available, and you see all the stuff they do for Boise State and all the vehicles they provide, and Bronco Studios sponsorship, and the Ford is everywhere. And Lithia Ford of Boise in particular, Jim Sturk. You won't find many bigger supporters of Boise State athletics. So when I talked to him, it was kind of it worked out. It was great, and I wasn't surprised, though, that they wanted to step up. So thanks again, Lithia Ford of Boise, our new title sponsor in 2026. Mike, that's going to include some more broadcasts over at Lithia, maybe some more rides around town in the vehicles, doing live shows. We're going to have some fun over there at Lithia, and maybe some interviews with some of their NIL athletes driving around town. So we got a lot of ideas and things, but shout out Jim Sturk, Lithia Ford of Boise. You are wearing your Ford hat there, and who knows, maybe KTIK and Lithia Ford can get together on something in the near future here, Mike. So I know Jim Sturk always steps up, and we're very appreciative and thankful and looking forward to 2026 with Lithia Ford of Boise.
Yeah, I love those guys. Love what they do, and I know we've done a couple of quick shows out there. We did the food drive or the toy drive actually out there earlier, and I love what Jim does. I love his relationship with Boise State and the athletes. It's always about the athletes first. And for boosters that have a little bit of money and want to be involved, it's not always about the athletes first. It's kind of about branding your business. And he's found this magical formula of branding his business and really kind of putting the emphasis and the spotlight and some cash into the pockets of some of these student athletes. That's the part I really, really love. So I appreciate that. And yeah, maybe we'll jump on this train and see if we can do a little business with Jim and Lithia Ford as well somewhere down the road.
All right, let's start with the transfer portal. I know the basketball game is tomorrow. We're here in San Diego. We'll have John Schaefer, actually, the voice of the Aztecs, going to join us a little later in the show. So stay tuned for that. The voice of the Aztecs, John Schaefer. I go on his show sometimes, and he's going to return the favor and come on mine, and we'll get the lowdown on San Diego State and really dive into this basketball game and this team a little bit later in the show. But I do think transfer portal is probably where we need to start here today. Mike, it opened at midnight Eastern last night. I could never figure out if it was open in your time zone at midnight, if it was midnight Eastern, which actually meant 10 p.m. in Boise last night. I couldn't really figure out for sure, but either way, business is open. The portal is officially open. I did see Cody Gogler say, jokingly, it never closed, but and that's how it feels, with some of the things that are going on, and really nothing is really different, Mike, because you're not supposed to be reaching out and tampering with these guys. The announcements before were that they were intending to enter the portal, but until their name was officially listed on that database in the portal sometime late last night or early this morning, whenever they fill out the paperwork and enter, they're not supposed to be contacted by schools. We obviously know that's not happening. But either way, we'll watch the list today and see who kind of shows up. There's 14 names that we know about where players have intended or announced themselves on social media. 14 names that are going to enter the portal as of about an hour ago. One of the nice things about working for 247 Sports is they have access to the portal. They sent us a list a little bit earlier. As of about an hour ago, Demetric Whitlock, Clay Martineau, Devon Banks, Roland Podesta, Jalen Webb, Chase Martin, and J.J. Tallow were the ones that had officially entered their name. I wouldn't get your hopes up or anything on a Ty Benefield just because his name hasn't officially showed up in the portal yet. But to this point, he has not officially filled out the paperwork and put his name in. Neither have a couple of the other guys that were on that list. So 14 names we expect to go in. I guess 15 if you count Roland Podesta. I had forgotten about him. He left during fall camp, or I guess the first or second day of fall camp, and that let them bring in that other kicker that came in and ended up kicking a few games early in the season. That was a cool story. The freshman, if you remember that, when they added him late, and there was a whole deal there. So 15 names, I guess, technically could be showing up that at some point were on last year's roster. To this point, Benefield, I guess Dubar, Devon Banks was kicked off the team, but we're other than Ty Benefield, we really haven't had any major losses yet here, Mike Prater. Do you expect any surprises in the next 2 weeks? Are you holding your breath here? Are you nervous for Boise State, or the guys that have already said they're going in? Is that pretty much all you expect here?
Yeah, all the above. I would imagine there's going to be at least a couple of other names. That's the transfer portal era, but I don't expect there to be a big gut job for Boise State's roster. I really don't. I mean, Ty Benefield is going to be the one that's going to make everyone a little bit sad. But Spencer Danielson is, and I know the numbers keep getting bigger and bigger. If we're up to 14, maybe 15, depending on what it is, those are the raw numbers. But what are the impact numbers? It's one. It's Ty Benefield, and I don't think a lot of people expected Ty Benefield to be around no matter what. I think most people probably thought he would declare for the NFL draft. And if he declares for the NFL draft, we're all happy about that. If he puts his name in the transfer portal, there's a little bit of angst, and I get that. I think Boise State's going to be just fine. If they lose one more, two more, I guess we'll see who those guys are. At this point, I don't know why you wait in terms of getting your social media out there, getting the momentum going, getting the conversation started, because once you make your intentions known on social media that official tampering can begin and people can start to contact you unofficially, I understand all that. But as you said, all that stuff is happening. So I don't think this transfer portal, guys, is this big, scary monster for Boise State football. Spencer does a nice job. Last year, the roster retention, I'm looking for a little less roster retention and a little bit more change this offseason. But nobody wants bloodbath in the transfer portal, and I don't think we're going to see it.
Some guy, remember, you're not supposed to talk to these guys till midnight, Mike Prater, but I was laying in bed, last night. It was 10:30 or something here in San Diego, which meant the portal was officially open on the East Coast, and I saw some tweet about some commit having 5 visits already set up. How have you organized 5 visits in 20 minutes of the portal being open? So it is just pretty crazy. And like I said, Cody Gogler joked that it never closed. So, most of the time that's kind of what happens, Mike, in terms of these next 2 weeks and trying to hang on. It may get a little more nervous. I mean, every day. I mean, there's going to be constant conversations. I mean, every day of talking to these guys, and all the way till that last day at midnight when the portal closes, you just hope you don't get word that one of your players wants to go in. And it's whether it's back channels through parents, through high school coaches, through agents, through trainers. There's schools out there that say, if this guy were to enter the portal, we would be willing to pay him this. And then there's agents saying, I can get him this. And so you're hearing it from agents, you're hearing it from the schools, indirectly, which is supposed to be illegal. So all it takes is one guy. I mean, let's be honest, Braxton Feely last year had no intentions of leaving. Sounds like he heard some numbers that he thought that where he couldn't turn down. And so he just enters the portal and then it ends up coming back. But I mean, an Andrew Simpson, Prince Strawn was another one last year who heard, a specific dollar. And a lot of people, that one already pretty much knew it was going to be USC, it sounded like. So that was something that certainly happened. And he got, a pretty good amount of money there. I think it was $500,000 and had one target last year. So it doesn't always work out. I know he was injured a little bit with an ankle, I think, for part of the season. But it's very interesting how you're not, until you're in the portal, you're not supposed to be talked to about, but they can reach out different ways. And now it is officially, like I said, nothing really changes from that standpoint, because if you're not in the, if you're not in the portal today and you weren't in yesterday, there's no difference in terms of what can be said. You have to be officially listed on that database before you're supposed to be able to be contacted by a school. And so I know nobody listens to that article or that, rules and all that stuff. It's just how it goes. But it'll be a little nervous, I think, for Spencer Danielson the next couple of weeks and until that last night to keep guys who I took the Greg Ard running back transfer as a sign that he's been told or expects both Gaines and Dylan Riley to return, which would be massive for Boise State, I think, if they do get both those guys back. And that is certainly something that even if they, and we'll have to see if Boise State does this, Mike, where they do the guys announcing they're re-signing or returning. That's kind of a weird thing now in college football too. But I guess my long-winded, question to you here is Riley, Gaines, Jaden Virgin Morgan. I mean, how much further down the list? We've talked about this all fall. Where you were a big proponent of roster, change instead of roster retention. But now that Ty Benefield is entered the portal, those two running backs, and then obviously Jaden Virgin Morgan, and I guess you would say Maddox Madsen at this point. I know some folks may cringe or whatever, but how much further down the list do you go in terms of? I mean, a Roger Carrion I think needs to be on there right now, given the state of your offensive line. Matt Wagner at tight end, given what he showed, and Louder leaving, Max Steege on the defensive line. I think you definitely would not want to lose, but no disrespect to some of the other guys I'm leaving out, but anybody, where's your list go in terms of guys that you need to see in 2 weeks are still on this roster?
Well, I'm glad you had the same kind of feeling that I did about Greg Ard. And Greg Ard is, when he left, I had some people reach out and say that's disappointing. And I said, if you look at the signs, it's really not that disappointing. And I'm not sure what kind of conversations Ard's had with the coaching staff. I'm sure they've all had conversations with everybody, but for me, it's Ard talking to Dylan Riley. It's Ard talking to Sire Gaines, and those both saying, I'm coming back. And so Greg Ard has to make a decision. That's the best place to go get that information. If you go talk to your two boys and they say, my intention is to come back. So I think that's a great sign. Those are the two guys, even though, I want lots of change. And then I shouldn't say that. I don't want lots of change. I just want some change. Last year, I didn't feel like that there was enough. And last year, that was fine for the roster. This year, I think it's a little bit different. But if you can keep Riley and you can keep Gaines, that's a big, big deal for me. You named all the top dogs. The only ones that I'm really worried about losing would be on the defensive side. Certainly JVM would be a big loss. And Smith, the new cornerback, because we saw enough out of him where I kind of worry about him. And he's got a little bit of stuff on tape. And I think that dude's got a nice promising, and he's probably not quite sticky here yet, so maybe he could leave. And I'd like to see Sherrod Smith stick around, especially with the loss of those cornerbacks. So I think that's very, very important. Wagner would be a big one. If Carrion leaves, that's a big one. But I never really worry about the offensive linemen individually. I worry about it more as a whole. And there's going to be some overturn and some change on the offensive line, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. You can always plug and play. And Roger Carrion is good, and Roger Carrion is important to this football team. But I don't think he's a difference maker enough where if he put his name in the transfer portal, all of a sudden I'd be worried about the offensive line. So JVM, Smith, Wagner would be a big one for me, and we'll certainly keep an eye on Roger Carrion as well.
What would you put the over-under at in terms of additions for Boise State in the portal? And I'll just go in terms of starters. Starting players that Boise State adds in the portal that against Oregon are starting, or at some point, we can even say early in the season. Maybe they don't have to be right by week one, but key contributors, starter caliber players. Do you think Boise State can go out there and find some in the portal?
In terms of finding new guys to bring in and start?
Well, yes. I mean, we've talked so much about how they don't have any money and they don't give money to incoming players. They use it all in the players they have. But I mean, you talk about Cage Casey leaving and Ty Benefield leaving and Matt Louder leaving and some of the money that frees up. I mean, we talk about, it's funny in professional sports, all these guys are leaving. It opens up all this money. I mean, it's kind of what it is. I mean, that's probably, is that $1 million between those three they saved, or at least a little, maybe not quite that much, but I mean, there's some money available now. And Ty Benefield, that's why I think a lot of people were disappointed to see him go, but I think some reasonable folks in this chat were saying, hey, he's a great player, but we can now use his money to go get some bigger needs that we have on this team in some other areas. So I am, and Cody Gogler's a big part of this now with Bronco Pro, and I want to try to get him on next week and kind of talk about some of this, but it really is a money building roster approach to this and trying to find the margins and find guys in other areas. And that's why maybe it's got to be an FCS player or some other JUCO players of guys that they feel like can in their talent evaluation can be similar to a guy that is going to cost $200,000 coming from Washington State or wherever else. I mean, that may not happen now, conference, but just what do they have resources? Do you expect them to fish in the pond of finding starter caliber players in the portal, or are these going to be largely what it was the last year? As the I may have to relocate here as it starts to sprinkle on me, Mike Prater. What do you make in terms of the what they have to try to go get some real talent here in the portal?
Well, Spencer Danielson and Jeremiah Dickey always say, we have what we have what we need, but we need more, and so they're always pushing for that. Let's just go ahead and assume that Spencer Danielson this coming calendar year has, let's say, I don't know if you agree with this, but let's say he's got a $6 million NIL budget. And he's always talked about a tier system. And that's the one thing, if you get Cody on, or we got to get Spencer on, maybe you and I can arrange one of these private off-season meetings that we've done in the past and try to just get some background information. But if they have $6 million and they have this tier system, let's go ahead and assume that maybe $2 million is for the top tier. You got $2 million for the middle tier, and then you got $2 million for the bottom tier. And the top tier with $2 million, maybe that's 4 or 5 players. I mean, I've heard that Ty Benefield and Maddox Madsen and Cage Casey this past season together, those 3 were well over $1 million. And we'll see what that's going to be like in the future, or what kind of information we can have. So if you can get your half dozen top stars and give them each $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 and kind of get that top tier of $2 million, and then you can get 10, 12 guys in that middle tier, and then you can just start passing out pennies in the bottom tier. That's kind of how it works. Boise State has enough money. They could use more, but at the group of 5 level, I think they have enough money and they should be able to go get what they want.
Yeah. And I mean, we've also discussed this for several weeks now, but I mean, and you look at how do you kind of rank your needs here for Boise State? Because I think they certainly need to beef up the defensive line. I think the offensive line certainly could use some help, and you could, find an argument for every position, but I think tight end, I think they're okay there. Quarterback, running back, I think you're okay there. Because again, you may say you have needs, like people that want to say you have to upgrade a quarterback, but you only have a certain amount of money and you have to allocate that to your positions of need. Quarterback is not need number 1, unfortunately. You've got a starting guy that's there, and that's why they're sticking with him, in part because they just can't waste the money on, not waste is the right word, but allocate those dollars on a quarterback when you've got multiple sides. I mean, I'm worried about the secondary. I mean, I really am. You think about losing both your starting safeties and both your starting corners. That to me is an area of concern. Plus, linebacker Marco, is gone. You like Bowen Phelps, Jake Ripp, but I mean, do you need to find somebody to beef in there? I mean, there's some serious holes on this roster. Where do you rank the priorities?
Well, you number 1 and number 2 for me are linebacker and wide receiver. And whether you want to go 1-2 wide receiver, linebacker, the linebacker, they have 1.5 linebackers on this roster, guys. I mean, Bowen Phelps is fine, but he's also playing out of position. He's not really a true middle linebacker. He's a great athlete, and I think they're going to spend this offseason trying to beef him up and get 20 pounds on him. I think Bowen Phelps is going to be great. Jake Ripp disappeared. Jake Ripp was the darling as the season started, and Jake Ripp was almost nowhere to be found when the season stopped. You have to take that into account, and the coach's actions are the most powerful tool that we have in terms of evidence. So they have 1.5 linebackers because Martineau and Martin both left, and neither one of those guys were getting any kind of playing time here. They need a big physical linebacker, and I loved Marco. Marco was a great team player. Marco was a great football player, but he also wasn't the physical beast that I like to watch in terms of play football at middle linebacker. I don't need Dick Butkus, but I also don't need, I need some more physicality, and I need a body in the linebacker room, and I think that has to be important. The wide receiver room, give me 2. I need 2 wide receivers. I really, truly do. And I know they got some good players and some potential kids on this roster, and Matt Miller's gone, and the whole wide receiver room is going to be completely shaken up and completely different. But that's the priority for me, is the wide receiver room. We've talked so much about Maddox Madsen and this offense and the passing game, and all the blame goes straight to Maddox Madsen, when I think the blame should be equally shared between the coaching staff, between the wide receivers themselves, who completely underperforming. I just don't like this past year's wide receiver group, and I don't see a lot of great evidence of dominant wide receivers. There's the Quentin Browns, who gave us glimpses here and glimpses there, and Whitlock and Williams are young guys that could possibly give us some potential, and Bates and Ford and those guys could come back and be slot guys. But I need, who knows what Marshall is? You can't really count on him. So I need some serious help in the wide receiver room. I need some serious help in the linebacker room. After that, I think Boise State can kind of fill in the pieces and be fine.
Do you think they go for another Sherrod type, proven guy to be that kind of third back, or do they go with some of the guys they signed and stuff? And like I said, allocate those dollars elsewhere. Now seeing what Dylan Riley is and Gaines is, I would assume they're probably happy with those 2.
I would think so. But look at the role Sherrod Smith had played.
Malik Sherrod.
He wasn't difference maker on this football team, but he was very important on this football team and played. Yeah, Malik Sherrod. Not Sherrod Smith, but Malik Sherrod. Yeah, and so I think that they could use one more, but I'm not going to spend a lot of money, and I'm not even sure the young kids coming up if there's a guy that can fall into place. They have 3 quarterbacks and 3 running backs on this roster right now. Literally, they have 3 running backs and 3 quarterbacks on this roster right now. 16 to 19 new players are supposed to be showing up here in the next week, and we'll get that list out as well, and we'll get those names out. We'll see who that is. But when you show up in January, if there's 16 dudes that show up in January, 1 or 2 or 3 of them are going to be difference makers in a game like Oregon. So I'm not really kind of counting on those guys. Maybe a couple of transfer portal guys, and some guys will emerge in the spring. But I'm not worried about the running back, or I'm not worried about the quarterback room, but I'm definitely worried about the depth in the running back room. Riley and Gaines, I think, are staying, and I like the signs of them staying. But there definitely needs to be some depth. But I need a LB1, a big, strong, physical LB1. And I really, really hope that they can pull somebody out of there, whether it's a junior college kid, a Big Sky kid. Jason Eck gave us a lot of hope. I criticized him last year at this time, as you know, for rebuilding his roster with a whole bunch of Big Sky guys. It worked for Jason Eck, and I think it could work for Spencer Danielson. So, you don't need to go out and get 35 Big Sky guys, kind of like Jason Eck did. But if you can get 2 or 3 guys, that's probably a heck of a lot more affordable than going out and getting some Power 4 backups.
Nathan Carroll has an article that I'll be posting as soon as the show ends here, his transfer portal targets, and he ranks his positions and areas of need and stuff, and continuing this discussion. So if you're a paying subscriber of Bronco Nation News, after the show's over, give me about 5-10 minutes to post the article, and then you'll be able to read more on this topic, and Nathan Carroll diving into some of the numbers and what he'd like to see Boise State add in the portal. And also, you mentioned the incoming quarterbacks, Mike Prater. Another tease ahead, our man Chris Van Sickle was finally able to secure what I think is the only interview, so I'll call it an exclusive interview with Cash Herrera. Chris Van Sickle talked to Cash Herrera. He's been kind of silent on his social media and everything since he signed with Boise State, since he committed to Boise State. So we have an article that'll be coming up. We're actually going to probably post it on the first day of classes on Monday or Tuesday, early next week, I believe, when they get back, or whenever that is. But Cash Herrera talking about his signing with Boise State, his commitment. And if you did miss the article with Danny Hernandez, the QB guru, that is up at Bronco Nation News as well. His thoughts on both Cash and Jackson Taylor, and how they kind of fit, and who he expects to kind of have the leg up here moving forward, and whether or not either of those guys are ready to compete right now at the quarterback position. 2 great articles from Chris Van Sickle. One you can read now on Danny Hernandez. The second, which will be available in a couple days here on Cash Herrera as well. Any final thoughts on the transfer portal before we move on to basketball, Mike?
No, but I'm really, really curious about Cash Herrera. I mean, don't forget that Spencer Danielson in his recruiting press conference, when he talked about Cash Herrera, he said NFL talent. And I don't think Spencer Danielson has ever said that about a quarterback before. I'm not sure he's ever said that about a player before in terms of a roster. He probably has. I just didn't get it, but he certainly never said that about an NFL or about a quarterback on this roster. So, if there's going to be any kind of competition, and I read, Chris's story on Danny, the coach that's coaching both of those. He's also got like Bryce Young, and he's got some serious guys out there in the quarterback college and professional football. So
2 guys that were Heisman finalists.
Yeah. So Fernando Mendoza. So it's really, really cool to have that connection. I have this weird, high, lofty expectations for Cash Herrera to come in and really, really push Maddox Madsen. I don't think Spencer Danielson has the guts or the balls to make a decision when it comes to this quarterback race in August. Maddox Madsen is going to be your quarterback, but if Cash Herrera can really, really push him, that's going to be very, 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 very interesting. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm keeping a close eye on Cash Herrera.
Hey, special thanks again, our new title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise. We appreciate Lithia Ford of Boise for stepping up as the new title sponsor of Bronco Nation News. And we'll be telling you all about Lithia Ford, continuing our partnership with them. But so thankful, appreciative for Jim Sturk, Jamie Drake, the whole crew over there, and whether it be the NIL deals they have, providing vehicles for student athletes. Prater, they were the first one, as you know, to film a commercial with a student athlete in a Boise State uniform in a Boise State facility, as this whole NIL era kind of took off with Riley Smith when he did some commercials for them. So they've been kind of at the forefront and pushing this thing and backing up all their talk financially in a big way, supporting Boise State. Now they're on on board with Bronco Nation News as our title sponsor. So for your next car or truck vehicle, please go check out Lithia Ford of Boise. Make that your first stop, and maybe you want to shop around, but give Lithia Ford of Boise a shot, and their sales team is ready to help you out and find you a great deal. And again, we appreciate Lithia Ford of Boise. Hey, Sun Cruiser, our new studio sponsor here in 2026. Hopefully this weekend in San Diego. Perfect time to hit the beach and have a Sun Cruiser or two here. Hit up Sun Cruiser. It's real vodka iced teas. They have the lemonade vodkas as well, and they're a fairly new company, been around about 18 months or so, and they continue to become more and more popular, and love them. You guys will as well. And I'm not even a big iced tea fan, but I love the way lemonade iced teas and the peach and raspberry iced teas. They are tremendous. So real iced tea, real vodka. Check out a Sun Cruiser today. Hey, Pearson Carmichael, he's with ICCU. We're going to be talking basketball here in a second. ICCU, there's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. Mike Prater is an ICCU member. I'm an ICCU member. Bronco Nation News, best decision I made was switching over our business accounts to Idaho Central Credit Union. So easy to use, and you don't realize what you're missing with your bank until you get over to ICCU. So make the switch today, Idaho Central Credit Union. Hey, Prater, we have to root for 75 points now. You may get me to root for the Broncos here. If they get 75 points, you get a any size fountain drink at Jackson's using Let's Go Rewards, and that's 2 days after the game. So tomorrow, if they get 75 points, on Monday, you can get that 75-cent fountain drink. So 75-cent any size fountain drink for the rest of the season at Jackson's for the men's basketball team. So root for 75 points and get any size fountain drink 2 days later from our friends over at Jackson's. And Taco Bell has a similar promotion for the home games. If they get 83 points, you get a free taco with your ticket stub. I'm not sure if the press pass will work for me or Johnny or you, Prater, or not. We'll have to try. But if you have a ticket stub from the game and the Broncos score 83 points in a home game, the next day you get a free taco from our friends at Taco Bell. So whether it's breakfast quesadillas, whether it's the crispy chicken strips, all the great options they have there at Taco Bell, the Cantina Bowls. Check out a Treasure Valley Taco Bell location, TacoBellWorks.com. And again, we appreciate the SOM Management Group and the Nicolason family for their support of Bronco Nation News. And Lithia, don't forget about the Blue and Orange store because they now have the customized basketball jerseys. We were there doing our show. We'll have to get down there again to the Hall of Fame location, Mike, and they had the football ones. Well, now they have the basketball customized jerseys. If you want a Drew Fielder jersey or you want a Andrew Meadow jersey, you can walk right into the Hall of Fame location at the Blue and Orange store down at Boise State, and within minutes, they can print you a Boise State jersey with any basketball player on the roster. It's a pretty cool deal, and they can do it in seconds to get your size, your color, everything you want for your customized Boise State basketball jersey. And you can get that now at the Hall of Fame location at the Blue and Orange store. And again, they have their Boise Town Square Mall location, the OG location, or you can order anywhere in the world online at the Blue and Orange store.com. As I mentioned, Mike, down here in San Diego, actually going to try to go over to Brian Dutcher's media availability here in about 2 hours and catch up with Brian Dutcher and get some of his thoughts on the Aztecs and the Broncos heading into this game on Saturday night. But what's your take on the basketball team at this point? We'll dive into this matchup and everything, but big picture here, obviously had the clunker before Christmas break against Nevada, and that had a lot of people kind of disappointed and some jumping off board again, but rebounded nicely. Ugly game at times. Neither team could shoot, but they end up winning by more than they were supposed to, and they get a nice home win against New Mexico the other night, now sitting at 9-4 overall, 1-1 here in conference play.
I thought that New Mexico game was classic Leon Rice, and I say that in mostly a good sense in terms of just the rebounding, the toughness. I don't know if I've ever seen, Boise State basketball under Leon Rice is always going to be tough, and the players are always going to be physical, and the rebounding for the most part is always going to be there. They were very, very physical against New Mexico. As a matter of fact, there was a point in that game where physical was a big part of the second half. New Mexico was even kind of fighting back, and it was getting chippy, and I thought maybe I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little fisticuffs or a little pushing and shoving going on, because Boise State was really kind of pushing the physicality. I love that. I love the street fight mentality of this basketball team. Now, with that said, I was sitting there watching the game, and I had this stupid little thought that popped into my head. If Boise State basketball was a quarterback, it would be Maddox Madsen, the kind of guy that would just drive you crazy offensively, but he still pulls out really good wins, still gets the job done, but maybe he's just kind of inconsistent and ugly. And Leon Rice's offenses have always been that as well. So as much as we give him credit for the consistency with the toughness and the rebounding and all the intangibles that really, really work beautifully under a Leon Rice basketball team, we all know that there's going to be moments within games, moments within seasons of which this offense is going to get a little ugly. And I still think that they're trying to find chemistry. In this day and age, you have to be a transfer portal coach. And Leon Rice is learning how to be a transfer portal coach. And when I mean that, let's go back to Dan Mullen at UNLV and the chemistry of what he did with that football roster over the course of a season. He had 75 new players in September, and by the time December rolled around, he had a fairly decent, smooth team that didn't always look good, didn't always look great, but you could see the chemistry and the transfer portal adhesiveness coming together. That's happening with Leon, but I'm still, the big three new guys that are with Boise State, it still looks a little disjointed to me. Still looks like there's some chemistry work and some smoothness on the court when it comes to this offense. But Leon Rice's offensive teams have always been a little inconsistent. As long as I get the toughness, the rebounding, the intangibles, I'm okay with it. I thought it was a beautifully classic Leon Rice game the other day. I enjoyed watching that. That was really, really fun for me. We just need to get that offense a little bit cleaned up.
Not sure if that's Mike's internet or mine, but got a little bit skitty there for a couple of seconds during Mike's answer there, so apologize for that. Hopefully now he's frozen here. Now he's coming back a little bit, so I think we got you back, Mike. But you mentioned the freshman, though. I mean, Spencer Aarons finally had kind of a breakout game for him. Folks are wanting to see him play more, the confidence that he played with. And I got to say, Mike, as nice of a guy as Dylan Andrews is, and I think he does some really nice things, I want to see more A.G. Nato here, which I never thought I'd say. The point guard position is certainly something for Boise State that they've got to figure out here. When you're talking about trying to find the chemistry and still kind of find the roles and things that fit, Dylan Andrews, their high-priced acquisition from UCLA, has been very inconsistent. I still think he has a role. I think they need to get him going because I still think he's a key to this team. But to this point, too many turnovers, not enough made shots. He's settling for too many deep jump shots and threes. I'm not giving up on Dylan Andrews, but I still want to see more of Nato because he at times has been a spark plug for this team.
And it looks like he got more minutes the other night. I didn't go back and share in terms of looking at the context in terms of how many minutes he's got in the past, but I love the minutes that he got the other night. And I couldn't agree with you more. And maybe it's a 50-50 thing in terms of the time. I really miss Al Cardenas, man. And I think we all do, not only personally, but just what he brought to this basketball team. I don't know if he'll ever get enough credit for what he did in terms of just the consistency on a program that lacks consistency when it comes to offense, the cohesiveness, the way he ran this basketball team. Dylan Andrews, this is going to sound a little bit harsh, but yeah, I'm with you, maybe even a little bit more so in terms of he looks like he's kind of playing for himself. He looks like it's almost like an individual out there playing for himself. That's where some of this chemistry stuff. I can see bits and pieces of Drew Fielder being a team player. But again, I think he's also playing a little bit for himself. But Dylan Andrews, to me, is still just kind of out there on an island trying to do individual things and hope that it contributes to a team when certainly you want to be a team effort more than anything else. So Dylan Andrews is still trying to figure it out. But maybe Leon Rice and Tim Duryea have kind of figured that out a little bit with more minutes from Nato. And let's see what he can do. I'd like to see that experiment continue to be pushed. Especially against San Diego State. I don't know what the X's and O's matchup is with that, and I know you're going to get into that a little bit here with John Schaefer from San Diego, but that he'll be one guy that I'll be keeping a close eye on in terms of minutes tomorrow, Nato, and how many he gets compared to Dylan Andrews.
Yeah, and I'm going to be watching Aarons too. I mean, he played a lot instead of Spencer or Javen Buchanan there in the second half, and they started off that second half with the 11-0 run for New Mexico in like 3 minutes, and Leon yanked Keene and Buchanan from the lineup, and once Aarons started hitting some shots, they left him in. So I still think Javen Buchanan is one of the best players on this team and a key to this team. I'd like to see him be a little more aggressive. I think when he wants to score, he can pretty much get to the foul line anytime he wants. We're kind of getting a little bit of that Tyson Degenhart, like just trying to get other guys involved and doesn't just take over the game enough, especially early in the game. I'd like to see Javen Buchanan be more aggressive, but I also think Spencer Aarons showed that he can be a key player here. I mean, and I know we're not talking about next year, whatever, a lot of season left, but man, Spencer Aarons and Nato and some of these young guys that they're Carmichael and it just seems like in the era of transfer portal and bringing guys in or whatever, it's kind of a lost art to go find impact freshmen, and Aarons and Nato both. And I even like Bum. I think in the very small, limited time we've seen I always mispronounce his name. Bun, I believe is how you say it. He looks like a guy that could be getting off the bus with San Diego State's team in terms of his athleticism and some of the things that I think they like about him moving forward. So I'll be very curious how they get Aaron's more minutes, because he took those in the last game away from Buchanan, which I don't think is going to happen very often.
Yeah, and Aaron's, he came in with all kinds of pedigree, all kinds of hype, and all kinds of excitement, and that was really fun to watch. And I would imagine those minutes are going to move. He's got that rotation of 9, and maybe that tightens up to 8. We'll see how that plays out. I like a 9-man rotation, and it seems like it's the right guys right now in terms of the minutes and what they're doing. But he's going to continue to tinker. But Aaron's is fun, man. That guy is smooth. That guy is really fun to watch, and he can play defense. He can play big. He can play small. He can play outside. He can play inside. Maybe a little bit slow on defense right now, but he'll pick that up. Burns will take care of that in a real flash. But I think Aaron's future is really bright. I enjoy watching that guy a lot.
All right, so San Diego State tomorrow, Mike. The Broncos actually have done pretty well against San Diego State in the last, 4 or 5 years. 7 out of 10, the Broncos have won from San Diego State the last 4 years, I believe it is, or 5 years. They've won 7 of the last 10 meetings with San Diego State. Last year, they lost both regular season meetings, but then beat San Diego State in the first round of the Mountain West tournament. You had they've actually had some success against him, and they've won a couple of games here. 2 years ago, you had the Cam Martin putback, and then you had the Max Rice, like almost half quarter to win that game late. And so this is a very tough place to play. It's one of my favorite college basketball arenas to go to. It is winter break, so we'll see in terms of the students what the atmosphere is like. But this is always a really tough place to play. For whatever reason, the last couple of years, Boise State has found some success against San Diego State. I'm not expecting them to win tomorrow, but this would be one of those games where if they found a way to win, oh man, that would just be a huge win with what they have coming up here on the schedule.
And they're going to win some of those games. And whether it's tomorrow or another one down the road, we'll see. And they're going to lose a couple of other games as well. And it's kind of a weird Mountain West season that way. And then certainly with the schedule lurking, Grand Canyon coming in next week, and then Utah State coming in next week. If you can get this one tomorrow, and I believe both those games next week are at home, right? The Grand Canyon and Utah State games are at home next week. So that's a big opportunity to kind of get yourself out of that hole after that Nevada loss. I don't think that Nevada loss is – we shouldn't be screaming foul. Nevada's a good basketball team, and they're going to win some basketball games. And Boise State
just went to Colorado State and won in Fort Collins on Saturday the other day.
I think Boise State's going to have uglier losses in the Mountain West this year. So I'm not worried about the Nevada one, but it was a loss and it came at the wrong time. And if you could steal one tomorrow and then beat Grand Canyon and Utah State at home, taking advantage of that schedule, that would be a big monster deal. Now, if you lose tomorrow and then split next week at home, then all of a sudden we got panic. But I'm not sure that that's going to happen. It's going to be a fascinating Mountain West basketball season. It already is and that's not always good. I mean, this is kind of a weird conference and maybe an underperforming conference, but that's going to lead to some really compelling storylines and some really compelling games. So a big monster game for Boise State. We talked about the New Mexico game the other day. Ball game and I got in a little fight. I jokingly said it was a must win, and he said it's a pivotal game in terms of what happened last week. Tomorrow is very much a pivotal game. I wouldn't call it a must win, but it's definitely pivotal.
Yeah, if you'd have lost to New Mexico, you'd been staring down 0-3 in the conference coming here to San Diego State on Saturday. But after this road game tomorrow, Mike, the next 3 road games for Boise State are UNLV, certainly winnable, Wyoming, certainly winnable, and San Jose State, certainly winnable. So those are the next 3 road games after tonight. Wyoming's playing really well, actually. That's going to be a sneaky tough game up in Wyoming. But you mentioned the teams that are coming to extra mile. Utah State's at 7:00 on a Saturday. If you find a way to win tomorrow and then beat Grand Canyon, you're in 3 in a row and 3-1 in conference. Like that should be a sellout against Utah State on Saturday night, you would think or hope. And then some of the other games. I mean, this is a nice 2-3 week stretch here. I know Leon Rice wants to look at one game at a time, but I guess final thing for you. I mean, this is an opportunity here tomorrow in this next 3 week stretch. I mean, we're going to know a lot more about this team probably when we look up here in 3 weeks.
And I'm just looking at this point, I'm just looking for consistency when it comes to offense. And I'm assuming San Diego State is just as dominant and just as nasty as they've always been when it comes to defense. And they're going to try to ugly up this game tomorrow. And if Boise State can, scratch and claw a 50-49 type of a victory, But I'm just looking for the consistency on offense with this team right now. That's really important for me in terms of what they can do, the growth in terms of the consistency, the growth with this offense and how they can handle that. So that's a big one for me. And it's a wrong place to go find your offensive consistency. But if they can come out and battle hard tomorrow and do the things that they do, big game. I'm looking forward to this game, and then certainly the big opportunities at home next week.
Appreciate you for jumping on, Mike. I know you're working on a column for next week as well. We'll all be back to normal, I believe, on Monday, or at least early next week, and get back at it here following transfer portal and basketball. And always appreciate you. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back in Boise early next week, sir.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great holiday, and safe travels. Go Boise State tomorrow, and Happy New Year to everybody. It's been I cannot wait till 2026. It's going to be a phenomenal year.
And much against the chat wanting me to ask you, I didn't bring up any Kyle Whittingham or Utah football questions.
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, they're obviously getting gutted right now, and that's the way it's going to be. And I ride the same emotions just like every other fan does. And I haven't spent a lot of time on social media the last couple of days. I know the headlines. I know what's lost, but I'm not cowering in a corner, all crying. I'm just kind of dealing with the same kind of emotions that all fans do, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of different, and hopefully everybody comes out on the other end, and we're bright and happy, and cannot wait for another new football season.
Appreciate you, Mike. Take care.
Take care.
There he is, Mike Prater. Appreciate him for joining us. We are live here in San Diego. We got John Schaefer, the voice of the Aztecs, going to join us here in a little bit. We're going to talk San Diego State basketball, Boise State basketball, so stay with us here. John Schaefer, the voice of the Aztecs, going to join us. We are in San Diego. I don't know. Let me know on the internet. Prater was going out a little bit. I don't know if my internet's going out, if Prater's going out. Doing the best we can here with the mobile hotspot here in San Diego. So hopefully me by myself, you guys can still hear me okay, and that we're rocking and rolling here, talking basketball, talking football, getting you set for San Diego State, Boise State tomorrow night. We are monitoring the transfer portal. We're monitoring social media to see if anybody else pops into the transfer portal. We're keeping track of all of that moving forward here for Boise State. By the way, we always like to look at the Ken Pom numbers. Boise State's defense, as of right now, heading into tomorrow's game, number 20 in the nation, number 20 nationally in defensive efficiency at Ken Pom, with a 96.8 rating. I know the rating doesn't maybe not mean much to you, but the numbers are pretty cut and dry. When Boise State makes the NCAA tournament, they're in the top 30 in defense, and when they're not, they don't. Let's go back to 2022, the year they won the Mountain West. They finished number 20 in defensive efficiency. They won the regular season title, the postseason title, and they went to the NCAA tournament. They finished 20th, where they are right now. 2023, they made the NCAA tournament. They finished 28th in defensive efficiency at Ken Pom. Top 30, made the tournament. 2024, they finished 29th. Defensive efficiency, and they made the NCAA tournament yet again. Got an at-large bid, went to the first four, and had to play Colorado. Now, you look at last year. They missed the NCAA tournament. Guess what? They finished 70th in defensive efficiency at Ken Pom. Outside the top 30, not even close, 70th, and they did not make the NCAA tournament. And I should put in perspective here, there's 360-plus teams in college basketball. So 70th isn't even that bad, considering that's the top 25% of all teams at Division I college basketball. But that margin is very slim, and Boise State has kind of identified if you can be in the top 30 when the season's over, you have a really strong chance to make it to the NCAA tournament. And right now, Boise State sits at number 20. So they're in a very good spot defensively. That's very encouraging moving forward, but have to keep that going defensively if they're going to find a way to, try to pick up some big wins. And certainly like tomorrow night, you're going to have to lean on your defense and lean on your rebounding. Boise State, again, those are the two staples. You could ask Brian Dutcher without even watching a second at Boise State basketball, hey, what are you going to get from Boise State? And they're going to go defense and they're going to go rebounding. And sure enough, they're number 20 in defense yet again, and they're number 2 in defensive rebounding. 22.4% is all that opponents get back on the offensive glass. Basically, 4 out of every 5 shots that the opponent takes up, Boise State grabs that defensive rebounding. So when you're talking about your defense and limiting possessions and not giving up as many, extra possessions and extra baskets, it's pretty simple. Don't give up offensive rebounds. Don't give them second chances. That's been a staple of a Leon Rice program for years. They have this system. You've heard Leon Rice talk about it, where every single rebound that goes up, all 5 every single shot that goes up, all 5 guys on the court get a grade on what they did in terms of crashing the glass or blocking their guy out. All 5 guys on the court have a job every single time a shot goes up, and they have a whole detailed system and rating system, and they rate you, and you earn minutes based on how you rebound and how you play defense. And so right now they are number 2 in America. There's only one team that gets more percentage of their defensive rebounds than Boise State right now. So you talk about defense traveling. I mean, certainly tomorrow night, Viejas Arena here in San Diego, that's just going to be a huge key for Boise State. Can they clean up the defensive glass, and can they play strong defense? And if you can make a few shots, I mean, tomorrow is definitely not the game you want to start 0 for 11 from the field and 0 for 10 from 3. I mean, let's be honest. Boise State, I don't say got lucky, but when you start 0 for 10 from three-point range and 0 for 11 against a top 100 KenPom team, I mean, Boise State could have very easily been down 15-0 in that game, or 18-2, not 8-2 or whatever it was. They got a little lucky that New Mexico wasn't hitting some shots, and also Boise State's defense deserves a little credit for that. But you got to hit some shots. I mean, they're going to have to hit some shots. As BSU Bill says, won't make the tournament if the offense remains outside the top 100, sitting at 102 right now. Need that gap up, or else it won't matter what the defense does. I pretty much agree with you there, Bill. Yeah, the offense has to start finding ways to hit some shots and be more efficient. And they're doing an okay job not turning the ball over. They haven't had super high turnover numbers. They just got to hit some shots. I mean, to go 6 of 30 from three-point range. In the first half, they were 2 of 17 from three-point range. And I guess the crazier part is that was still better than New Mexico, who was 0 for 12. But I would say the three-point shooting, in particular just the outside shooting, has to get better. And tomorrow night, you start 0 for 10 from 3 tomorrow night, you may be down 15. And at Viejas Arena, with that crowd and that environment, you ain't coming back from down 15 points. I mean, you gotta get off to a decent start tomorrow. Cannot fall behind big early with that crowd. You gotta just weather that early storm that the crowd brings there at Viejas Arena. It's one of my favorite places, and we're going to talk to John Schaefer, the voice of the Aztecs, here in a few minutes, and so we'll get his perspective on this San Diego State team, because it's been kind of an up and down year for San Diego State. I mean, they just haven't looked like a typical San Diego State team, but for my money, they're still going to be right there when it matters. I know Bird, has been up and down a little bit. BJ Davis is playing really well, and they still have Magoon Guath there on the interior. I know he's coming back from his injury and kind of working his rust off, but to me, they're still individually just as talented, if not more talented, than anybody else in this league. They're not going to lose many home games at Viejas Arena. Brian Dutcher is a great coach. San Diego State, I don't care what their record is, they certainly are a team that will scare me every time you have to play them. I think that they're a very quality team. They have the pedigree, the history, they know how to win, and they have really, really good players. And like I said, they don't lose very much in that building. It's a very, very, nice home court that they have there at Viejas Arena. We will have to notice with the students. I don't know when they start school again, and there are a lot of students that do live in the San Diego area, so it's not like a Boise State game where the student section is just empty. And I don't say that kind of disrespectfully, but a Boise State game during winter break, the student section's essentially empty. You get some regular folks that come sit there and they spread out a little bit, but the student section is a nothing factor when winter break is the case. And that's the case at, a lot of places, not just Boise State, but San Diego State still gets some students. They don't pack it, and it's not as loud or as crazy as a February game, but they still get a pretty good student turnout. We'll just have to see how good tomorrow and what that factor is. It is a 7:00 on a Saturday night here in San Diego, so it's a perfect time, I guess, from that standpoint. So we'll see what the crowd's like tomorrow. It is winter break. I don't know if they start Monday and all the students are already back, or what the plan is there. But either way, there is a bowl game tonight. My hotel here has a lot of Arizona fans staying at it. Arizona and SMU, I believe, are playing in the Holiday Bowl tonight. And I was actually going to ask Mike Prater about this, and I forgot. We ran out of time. He had to be off at exactly 8:45 today, but 8:45 Pacific time here where I am. But what bowl games? Somebody's asking in here about bowl games. Do you support Pac-12 teams in bowl games today? Are we rooting for Texas State? Yeah, well, I mean, definitely would be rooting for Texas State. You got nothing against them, and you certainly want to have them entering the Pac-12 with a little more buzz if they can get a win in their bowl game. Definitely would root for Texas State. But I wonder what happens with this Holiday Bowl. and is that a bowl that is, some bowl games are going to be going away. I hate to say it, but the bowl system, we've already heard a couple are going away. The LA Bowl is going away. You hope the Potato Bowl is not in any kind of jeopardy, but you just see some of the crowds, and you just wonder with some of these bowl games, what is the next bowl system going to look like? Right now, that the contracts are ending, at some point here in the spring, they're going to announce, a whole new lineups, whole new bowl games, whole new I shouldn't say whole new bowl games. There's going to be whole new agreements on conferences. I would suspect a couple more bowl games this will go away probably. Maybe they add another game. We've heard rumors of this bowl game they're going to add in Colorado potentially with Mountain West and Pac-12 meeting up in a bowl game in Colorado that I heard could maybe even alternate from CU hosting it to CSU hosting it in different years. Maybe I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. But there's some changes coming to the bowl system, and one of those kind of changes is going to be the new agreements and the new arrangements. The Pac-12 needs a marquee bowl game coming forward. I hope that's back in Vegas. I really do. Obviously, everyone's going to joke. I am wearing my Circa Sports hat here, but I love Vegas. I love Circa. That's certainly a big part of it. But I do think it just makes sense to have a bowl game in Las Vegas, your premier bowl game for the Pac-12 conference. If they can get back in the Las Vegas Bowl, that would be massive. I don't know how possible that is. I don't know what the plan is for the Vegas Bowl, who they think they can attract. But if you can get a Pac-12 team back in, which I guess it is Pac-12 right now, or was it Pac-12 Big Ten? There was they had some different agreements with different conferences. But if you can get the Pac-12 into Las Vegas next year, I think that would be massive. And that's the first deal. You got to find a big premier bowl game for your champion to go to if you don't make the college football playoff. You got to have at least one. They had the Vegas Bowl before at Sam Boyd Stadium. They got the LA Bowl, which people wanted to crap on, whatever. I didn't mind it. You're in an NFL stadium. I thought the LA Bowl was a pretty nice thing once they got kicked out of the Vegas Bowl to come up with for the Mountain West champion to go to the LA Bowl. But now here in San Diego, you've got the Holiday Bowl. What's that agreement going to look like moving forward? You got to figure that out, because I think the Pac-12, you would love to find a way to have a game here in San Diego if you can. But what does that look like? What conference are you playing? What does the Holiday Bowl want to do? Yeah, the Holiday Bowl used to be awesome. I agree. You got Arizona and SMU tonight, and that was a premier bowl game not too long ago, and now it's kind of moved a little bit lower in the pecking order, but I am very curious to see what bowl games the Pac-12 aligns itself with. Is the Potato Bowl become a Pac-12 bowl? I don't know. Just because you have Boise State, or does it go away? The Hawaii Bowl probably stays Mountain West, I would assume, because Hawaii is going to be in the Mountain West now. I always liked the Hawaii Bowl. I didn't have any issue with that. I know the timing kind of stinks on Christmas Eve, but who's going to complain about going to Hawaii? But that is a big thing that me being here in San Diego and thinking about these bowl tie-ins with a Holiday Bowl tonight here in San Diego, I do wonder what the future of that is, and we'll see on that. We're going to bring in our man John Schaefer here in just a minute, and I'm going to ask him. That'll maybe be the first question that we talk about. But I do want to thank a couple quick sponsors here. Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. We bought and sold our home using Matt and his team. Tremendous customer service every step of the way. A former Bronco, now helping folks find their dream homes all across the Treasure Valley and beyond. Check them out at BauscherRealEstate.com. We'll pick our defensive player of the game tomorrow night, brought to you by Element Fencing. Family owned, serving the community for more than 25 years. ElementFencing.com. Whether it's a fence, whether it's pergolas, decks, they got you covered. Check them out online, ElementFencing.com. Hey, Ridley's Family Markets, ShopRidley's.com. ShopRidley's.com. They got 13 locations in the state of Idaho, surrounding states as well. And download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. Shop Ridley's, ShopRidley's.com. Hey, your next painting project, hit up rowpaint.com. Again, we're talking San Diego State, Boise State here momentarily with John Schaefer, the voice of the Aztecs. Rowpaint.com, 20% off those winter painting projects right now, whether it's the concrete coatings, the interior, exterior painting. Hit up our friends over at rowpaint.com. You looking to get a new career change, a fresh start? How about the trucking industry? Transportation Compliance Service, a local company in Boise, helping out folks all around the world. Sign up to get into the trucking industry, whether it's a DOT, overweight, all the permits and things that you need to get out there towing that first load. They can help you do it in no time. Transportation Compliance Service online at transcomservice.com. And we want those voicemails. We actually have a voicemail from Jesse that I'll get to in a little bit, but leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/BNN, speakpipe.com/BNN, Signature Roofing voice inbox, brought to you by Signature Roofing, of course. And Whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, or an inspection, they got you covered at Signature Roofing online at mysignatureroofing.com. As I mentioned, down here in San Diego, getting set for the game tomorrow, and nice enough to join us for a couple of minutes here, the voice of the Aztecs. You can hear him on Sports 760 there here in San Diego. Just signed a new deal there, so congratulations. Now you're the voice of the Aztecs. Big things for John here, man. We appreciate you coming on. How you doing?
I appreciate you having me, BJ. You're always bringing the nice weather to Southern California.
I have a terrible – I can see a little bit of blue here, but I have terrible luck when it comes to weather in San Diego, yes.
It was actually, I think – I'm not sure what time you got here yesterday, but in the morning was torrential, and it ended up being decent in the afternoon. But, no, I appreciate the kind words. Looking forward to tomorrow, and Boise State, San Diego State moving forward as well at all these sports in the Pac-12 and beyond. Before
we get to basketball, I was just having a discussion with the Holiday Bowl being tonight. A lot of folks here at my hotel are rooting for they still call it the Holiday Bowl, right? Yeah. Here in San Diego, a lot of Arizona fans staying at my hotel here for the game tonight. What is the talk about the future of this game and whether or not the Pac-12 with Boise State, San Diego State, and who else can get in with this game maybe? Or what do you see here in terms of the future of this bowl game and any other thoughts, I guess, on potential ties for bowl games with this new Pac-12?
You know what's interesting is first of all, I'm calling this game on local radio because it's the only non-ESPN like bowl game, or one of the very few that aren't on ESPN. I think the Sun Bowl's on CBS, but through a relationship with like Fox Sports Radio, I'm able to call this. I've actually called it in 3 different venues in the last 4 or 5 years because it was at the Jack Murphy Stadium where, the Aztecs used to play. And then they held it at Petco Park for a couple of years, and now this is the second year it's at Snapdragon Stadium. I mean, the Holiday Bowl has been a staple in San Diego for like 40-plus years, so I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't know what its future is going to be, though, in terms of like its bowl tie-in. Traditionally, it hasn't. I think San Diego State's only played in the game one time. So because oftentimes they use this game as a way to like promote tourism, so they haven't really had a path for a school in San Diego State's league into the game. But I'm curious if that changes moving forward with the new Pac-12. But I mean, it's a huge event in San Diego. It draws extremely well. I think I read a press release just the other day that they had 2,000 tickets remaining, even with the weather. So there should be 30 to 35,000 people tonight. And I think Snapdragon Stadium's the right site for it. Petco didn't make a ton of sense now that we have this football stadium in San Diego. And I'm like you, I'm curious. I think the Pac-12 makes a lot of sense. I just don't know if that's part of the future or not.
Yeah, and I saw they screwed up. Both fan bases were telling their teams to wear red tonight. It's just going to be nothing but red, right? Apparently, yeah. By the way, Surf City Bill says I listen to John and Jim all the time. He's a BSU fan living down here in Southern California. We love Surf City Bill, but he always. I
appreciate that. Well, Jim just left. Jim just moved to Philadelphia. It's John and TBD coming up in 2026.
All right. So, by the way, one transfer portal thought. I saw Trey White entering the transfer portal. Yep. Boise State lost Ty Benefield, their big safety, to the portal, a week or so ago. But what's the NIL situation? What's the portal situation for San Diego State? And also, what was kind of the lasting effects from the tiebreaker and all that, and them getting left out of the championship game?
It's kind of tough because, to go from 3-9 to 9-3, it feels like they did a ton of work under Sean Lewis, and it should be celebrated, but they didn't have like that celebratory moment collectively as a team because they didn't have a chance to play in the Mountain West title game, even though they controlled their own destiny heading into the New Mexico game in Albuquerque. And then in their bowl game, it was an incredible game. I give San Diego State a lot of credit because they were very shorthanded, specifically on defense. And they came back from 22 down to lose to North Texas, who's in the top 25 right now, and they lost 49-47, and the Aztecs ended up doing it with like their third-string quarterback. But there's going to be a lot of change. I mean, it's the nature of the business. I think San Diego State's never been better situated from an NIL perspective. Their rev share dollars are going to be way up in 2026, but that's not going to afford them enough to have a commitment from someone like Trey White that probably didn't need to come back in 2025, but elected to do that. And now he's really going to get paid. I think Kirk Kenny wrote today in the UT, the newspaper down here, that White could command over $1.5 million. And I think he also wrote that San Diego State expects to commit somewhere in the neighborhood of $6+ million in rev share. So they couldn't commit 25% of their overall share to one player. So they're going to have a lot of change. I mean, whether it's Trey White, Owen Chambliss is a terrific player. He'll command $1 million plus in the portal. Chris Johnson's going to the NFL. He should be either a first or second round pick. So there'll be change, but Sean Lewis, he always has a plan. I know that. I think he's very confident based on what they were able to do from year 1 to year 2. And I think he expects to contend in the Pac-12 in his 3rd year. But I think all these programs are going to have a lot of change, including San Diego State. It's just the nature of the business. And honestly, even if you're Penn State or Ohio State, these players are ending up in the NFL or transferring for more dollars. And it's certainly happening at, in the Pac-12 level as well.
He is John Schaefer. He's our guest here on Bronco Nation News. We get you set down here in San Diego for Boise State, San Diego State basketball tomorrow night. I like going on John's show, so he's returning the favor. You didn't call me, so I assumed that you didn't like me anymore.
I'm off.
So, yeah, that's what I found out. There was no show, and I figured, all right, no text from John. But I said I'll reach out, and that's when I go to San Diego. I always it's like Rich Waltz. I always get Rich Waltz on my show. So every time Rich Waltz sees he has a Boise game, he knows at some point that week he's going to get a text from me about coming on my show. So I was ready to do it. Love chatting with you guys, but no show today. So we said, all right, well, you come on my show instead today, and we're talking about this game tomorrow. And tell us about San Diego State. We'll get to the actual matchup and everything and the history of this series here in a minute. But a lot of people kind of, I don't want to say freaking out, but just kind of looking at this San Diego State team saying maybe it's not quite where the people thought it would be or quite as vintage San Diego State as we've seen in the past. I mean, certainly they had the crazy double overtime game against Troy, who is 131, I think, still at KenPom, not just some horrible loss. And their other 3 losses are to, number 1 Michigan, Arizona's number 2, and I think Baylor's 30 at KenPom. So they're sitting here at 8-4, but it's not exactly like that they've, played terrible. I know some of the games have been a little closer. Maybe that was a close game with San Jose the other day. They pulled away. I said earlier on this, like, San Diego State is still San Diego State to me. Like Brian Dutcher, and you look at the individual talent they have on that team, like they're going to be right there at the top of the conference or fighting for a conference title, in my opinion, when all is said and done. I maybe have blind faith in San Diego State, but I can't imagine that they're not going to figure this out. And when I say figure it out, like I said, they're still 8-4, and they've only got, what I would call no terrible losses. So what is the big picture take? I know Guath's coming back. I know Bird's been a little inconsistent at time. Their best player maybe isn't even starting in BJ Davis right now. Tell us about San Diego State from your perspective, sitting courtside as the voice of the Aztecs.
I mean, you did a good summary. It's been a little bit of, I guess, a unique start. I mean, the expectations in San Diego are very similar to the expectations in Boise when it comes to Boise's football program. And maybe to some extent, what Leon Rice has done with basketball. I mean, I think there are high expectations for Boise State because they've played very well, including against San Diego State in recent history. But I mean, the expectations here are to win games in the tournament. I think the expectation with this team was, to get to a Sweet 16 in 2026. And it's been a little bit of a slow build. And I do think they've made a ton of progress from November to December. They also had one of the more unique schedules in the country where I think they've had already, 3+ 7-day layoffs. They've played number 1 and number 2. I know they wanted to schedule challenging, but I don't know they expected to play number 1 and number 2. And the Troy game was literally insane. Their double overtime loss at Viejas Arena, where Miles Byrd hit a half-court shot at the buzzer to send it to overtime. They had 2 4-point leads in both of the overtimes. They had a 4-point lead with the ball in the second overtime with about 2 minutes to play and didn't win the game. So Troy deserves credit, and Troy's actually been, to your point, really good. But, I mean, San Diego State has work to do. Their best basketball needs to be still in front of them. They're getting better on the defensive end. That's the key. They were way better in December defensively than they were in November, and they're playing one of the deepest, rotations in the sport in playing truly 11 players. I think they've had multiple games where all 11 have played 10+ minutes. So it's been interesting to watch them navigate it. They will ultimately be led by Miles Byrd, Magoon Guath, and Reese Dixon-Waters, and those players are emerging here, I would say, over the last week or two. And, of course, San Diego State at home has traditionally been one of the tougher outs in college basketball. But, I mean, we haven't seen them reach their ceiling. I think that's fair. I think Brian Dutcher would say the same thing. I think they're capable of so much more. I think offensively, it's one of the better teams they've had under Brian Dutcher. Defensively, it hasn't been the same defense by and large. I think they're up to around 40th in KenPom. They'll typically finish in the top 15. So if they can move that into the 20s, I think they'll have a shot to be really, really good in the league. But these are big games. Like when you're hosting a team like Boise State, it's such a big swing game either way, where I think if San Diego State wins it, they have real momentum. If Boise State wins it, they've got significant momentum. And it'll probably be a closely played game like a lot of these games have been over the years.
So Boise State 7-3 actually in their last 10 against San Diego State.
That's
going
incredible.
back the last 4 years, I believe. Last year, San Diego State did win both the regular season meetings, but Boise State came back and won the quarterfinal game in the Mountain West tournament. There was that year where Boise State won the league, where they beat San Diego State 3 times, including in the championship game. I don't know. I'd have to look and see, but if you go back the last 4 years here, I'd be hard pressed to find another team in this league that's got a winning record against San Diego State, and Boise State's sitting there at 7-3 the last 4 years. What I know, Leon Rice isn't going, oh yeah, we own them, we got this by any means, but what is it that you see in these matchups, and what has Dutcher said just about why Boise State has been one of the few teams that has had a little bit of success against the Aztecs here of late?
Well, I think a couple of things. I mean, Leon Rice is, one of the better coaches, obviously, in college basketball. I know that's not always necessarily the tenor in Boise State, but considering what he's done with that program is very impressive. And I think that Boise State might say something that similar to what San Diego State would say, that they're kind of built in a similar, look and feel to the Aztecs. And that's, I think, a credit to Boise State, that what San Diego State specifically did, starting with Steve Fisher, to build it with defense first and to build it with physicality, size, players that play multiple positions, can guard multiple positions, can switch all 5 positions. This is something that San Diego State has done, and this is something that Boise State has excelled in as well. What's interesting, I think, right now in the Mountain West is it doesn't look like old San Diego State teams. I think there's San Diego State and Boise State, and then there's programs that are going to play much more openly and freely on offense. You look at like a Wyoming, for example, this year, and there's other programs that I think aren't necessarily built in the same ilk as these defensive-minded teams like SDSU and Boise State. But I think the teams look similar. I think they'd prefer to be bigger and stronger and more veteran-led, but it's harder in today's era. You'd like to keep players for 2, 3, 4 years. Traditionally, San Diego State and Boise State have been able to do that to some extent, but I just think they look similar. And by and large, Boise has looked the part. There was that game last year, Viejas Arena, where San Diego State was incredible defensively at the rim, and like Magoon Guath was blocking every single shot. But then there was the Boise comeback in the Mountain West
I almost got
tournament,
hit. I was in the second row, and I almost got hit with like 3 block shots in that game.
That game was unbelievable defensively from the Aztecs. But then there was last year in the Mountain West tournament where I think San Diego State played well for a half. They built maybe a 6 or 8 point lead. They had the ball a couple of times up 6 or 8, and Boise State completely turned the tides on that game in the second half and played free and loose and looked really good. So I don't truly know what to expect. What I expect is a low-scoring competitive game. And not low-scoring like we saw a couple of years ago during COVID that was like 40-30. But, a game played in the 60s that comes down to the final couple of minutes that both teams may have an opportunity to win.
42-37 was that game. It was a crazy game because
insane.
I had 42-37. I had flashbacks because at halftime the other night, Boise State, New Mexico was 21-19, and I went and looked up the halftime score of that game a couple of years ago, and it was 22-21. So there were actually less points in the first half the other day. They finally got the offense going a little bit. It is crazy. You look at some of the KenPom numbers and stuff. Like Boise State is number 20 in defensive efficiency right now. You don't typically see Boise State being higher than San Diego State in the defensive metrics, but Boise State has always been a very defensive team here of late. But Boise State 20 at KenPom in defense and number 2 in defensive rebounding in this game as well. So as you said, probably going to be a little lower scoring game. When does school get back in session? What's the student crowd like? Is it you guys expecting close to a sellout tomorrow, or what's the crowd situation?
I'm sure. The crowds are, traditionally obviously very good. And then when you get in that semester break, they'll sell tickets to the general population in that the show section as well. So I wouldn't expect the show to be filled with students, but I think just in general with ticket sales, I think it'll hopefully be close to filled. But yeah, this is the time of year where if you're going to play Viejas Arena, it's probably advantageous to do it the first week of January, last week of December. I remember a game that San Diego State went to the Kennel at Gonzaga a couple of years ago, Reese Dixon Waters' first year here. The students were not there, and San Diego State ended up winning that game going away, and it just didn't seem like the same environment that you would typically get at Gonzaga. Now, San Diego State will have good environments, obviously, no matter when they're playing, but it's not the February 27th, there's a week left in the regular season, at-large berths are on the line for both teams, that type of, pent-up anticipation for a game. And it's kind of an interesting time where, again, it's still the holidays. San Diego State's coming off a bowl game recently. We're just getting into conference play. Students aren't currently in session. I think both teams understand the importance of games like this. I do think, because in today's college basketball where any league outside of the top 4 or 5 in the Mountain West has always been right there at like 5.5 or 6, right behind the Big East, right, or the ACC. Even in recent years, when you're 6, they've had a window to get, a second or a third or even a fourth or more teams into the NCAA tournament. I do wonder how much that's closing. I do think this league gets multiple teams into the NCAA tournament, but the question is, do they get 2 or do they get 4? Do they get 2 or do they get 3? And that's a big difference. And if they're only getting 2, then games like this are even more magnified. Or even if they're only getting 3, games like this are more magnified. So I think it's a great opportunity for both teams. I think probably more to gain for Boise State on the road. And for San Diego State, you just kind of have to hold serve at home if you want to put yourself in the at-large conversation. I mean, San Diego State's, probably 15 teams outside of the at-large conversation, and no team come the 1st of January has been lower than 75th in the net to earn an at-large spot. And San Diego State right now is 75th in the net. So that's kind of the lowest window of a team reaching the NCAA tournament as an at-large team over the last 5 or 6 years. So I think it's still inside the realm of possibility, but they're going to need to play very well in the second half of the year.
I think Leon Rice would laugh if you told him, which he may know, but you tell him like, yeah, they're one spot from this being a quad 2 game tomorrow night. Like this, there's no feel of a quad 2 game tomorrow night at Viejas Arena. But I guess right now, technically, they're right on the cusp of quad 1, quad 2 at 75. And like I said, I fully expect to look up in a month and they're 12-4 in conference or whatever, or 13-3, and right there, and everything looks great. I'm not as worried about San Diego State personally. But by the way, you mentioned the anticipation, the last game of the regular season, stuff on the line. Like that'll be the case in Boise. Yep. The final, it's senior night. Somehow you guys always get stuck playing senior night up there in Boise, and so that's a 7:00 game on a Tuesday. Could be a lot on the line, but kind of interesting the schedule this year. You play to tomorrow and then don't play for 2 months in terms of 2 of the better teams in the conference, but could be plenty on the line again up there in Boise in 2 months too.
100%. I mean, San Diego State, to your point, has, some of these venues like Boise, New Mexico, Utah State for the Aztecs, and for most teams in this league have been, really challenging. I mean, San Diego State's getting best efforts from all these teams each and every night. And yeah, it's been tough to win there.
It's every team's Super Bowl. It's every team's biggest game of the season. I'm sure they face
sellout crowds every
game. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I make the analogy to Boise State football, which is a credit to what Boise State has built, with their football brand. And I think San Diego State has earned that on the basketball floor as well, specifically what they've been able to do in NCAA tournaments. But really, you look at regular seasons, they've just been so consistent. San Diego State is always sitting there in the at-large conversation or vying for, a regular season title or a championship in the Mountain West tournament. I mean, the crazy stat about Brian Dutcher is he coached in a Mountain West title game his first 7 years. And the first time he didn't coach in a Mountain West title game was last year when Boise State beat him in the quarterfinals. But I'm with you. I think we'll look up. I think Boise State and San Diego State will be in the at-large conversation. I think they'll be 2 of the better teams in the league. I know the Aztecs won in Boise last year, and they did so pretty impressively in that game. But I think it's going to be different when you get to a senior night, and we'll see what's on the line 2 months from now.
Well, it should be fun tomorrow night. We'll worry about the game in 2 months.
Yeah.
4-point spread, I think, is the Ken Palm number. John, appreciate you. Again, 760 here in San Diego. Folks want to check you out. Otherwise, the voice. I know you did some post-game stuff. The voice of the Aztecs has a nice ring to it, man. Congratulations on that, and that's got to be pretty cool for you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because obviously Ted Leitner did it for 30 years with the Aztecs and 40 years with the Padres, and I did 6 or 7 years of pre, half, and post for football and basketball. But I mean, my background before I moved to San Diego 9 years ago was play-by-play. I spent 15 years in the minor leagues in Lynchburg, Virginia, and Allentown, Pennsylvania. Riding buses, calling games in front of 500 people in Kinston,
You earned your stripes, man. No doubt about that.
So yeah, I mean, I love play-by-play. I've loved doing sports talk in San Diego, but kind of play-by-play is my true passion. So I just feel so fortunate. It's crazy to be in San Diego and doing play-by-play for the Aztecs. It's been crazy.
Well, congratulations again. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow over. I may sneak over. Brian Dutcher's talking in like an hour. I may see if I sneak over.
Well, then I'll see you over there in an hour.
I may try to make it over there. We'll see if they'll let me in the building or not. But appreciate you for jumping on, John. Thanks a lot. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow night for the game. Should be fun.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, BJ.
There he is, John Schaefer, best in the business, voice of the Aztecs. Always appreciate him, and you can follow him on Twitter. He's a good follow on Twitter as well. And we appreciate him for coming on and giving us his take on the game tomorrow. Again, full pregame coverage, the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show. That will be starting at 7 o'clock in Boise. It's an 8 o'clock tip-off. We'll get you going at 7 o'clock tomorrow night live from Viejas Arena. The only spot you'll be able to watch a live look at warm-ups tomorrow night is right here on Bronco Nation News. We'll be live with warm-ups. We'll set the scene for you in San Diego. You can watch the players warming up, watch the crowd coming in. We'll have Abe Jackson on. We'll hope to get Coach Rice interview today and play that for you tomorrow. So a lot of eyes will be on this game tomorrow night in the Mountain West, the biggest game in the Mountain West, one of the bigger games nationally tomorrow. And we'll get you started 7 o'clock Mountain Time with a live look at warm-ups, and we'll get you set on the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show. So join us at 7 o'clock tomorrow Mountain Time, Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show. And then, of course, we'll have the Jacksons postgame show, live interviews with Leon Rice and players after the game on the road. We get those guys on live right after the game, so we'll get Coach Rice, we'll get some players, we'll have live postgame coverage of Boise State, San Diego State tomorrow night on the Jacksons postgame show. So pregame, postgame, in-game coverage. Aside from Bob and Abe, I'm looking around. I don't see any other Boise media down here in San Diego for this game tomorrow night. So you guys know by now, Bronco Nation News, your spot for pregame, postgame coverage, the YouTube channel, and then certainly you also have the coverage on our website as well, bronconationnews.com. So go subscribe. We still got that 50% off deal. We're tracking the transfer portal, any names that are coming in, going out, visits that are coming for Boise State. Chris Van Sickle is posting to the VIP message boards what he's hearing about guys coming for visits, and we're tracking all the portal news at bronconationnews.com, and you can jump in. Perfect time right now, just $5 a month for a full year of our coverage at 24/7 Sports, and that gets you so much extra stuff in terms of our transfer portal tracker and Brandon Huffman and all the national transfer portal rankings and insight that they're hearing, as well as our local team with Chris and Nathan and myself. So $5 a month, perfect time with the transfer portal. Basketball season heating up. To jump on board at 24/7 Sports. BroncoNationNews.com is the website. That's where you go to subscribe. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you just click Join VIP Now, and a yearly annual rate is just $5 a month right now for a subscription to BroncoNationNews.com. So appreciate you guys for checking us out. Thanks again to our new title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise. So excited to have Jim Sturk and Jamie Drake and the whole crew at Lithia on board now as our title sponsor in 2026, where it means more shows over at Lithia Ford, more shows driving around town in some vehicles. We got a lot of great things, but for you guys, it means a upgraded commitment from Lithia Ford of Boise and helping us continue to pay folks like Prater and Johnny and Winston and Bedell and all the folks you hear, Jay Tust, on these shows. It would not be possible without our great sponsors. These guys don't do it for free, folks. I pay Mike Prater, I pay Ballgame, Tust, all these guys, and so they get paid to do these shows, and that means we need our sponsors to help pay for them, and we need your subscriptions to our website to help pay for them as well. So go support all of our sponsors, and we couldn't do this show without our sponsors, so please support the sponsors. Tell them that you like what you're hearing on Bronco Nation News, and I've been telling you the last couple of weeks or so, but take a photo of yourself supporting a sponsor, whether you go get a Sun Cruiser, whether you go to the Taco Bell drive-thru, whether you go over to ICCU, all of our great sponsors. When you go buy something at the Blue and Orange store, take a photo, post it on social media that you're supporting a BNN sponsor, and tag us, and we will enter your name into a drawing for a prize pack. We'll try to get some gift cards from some of our sponsors, or have some sort of giveaway that we're going to hope to do if for folks that do that. So support the sponsors. Put it on social media. Let folks know that you're supporting our sponsors. Let, more importantly, those businesses know that you're supporting our sponsors, and we will find a way to repay you with some sort of drawing for a gift card or something coming up at the end of the month. So appreciate you guys. We'll be tracking the transfer portal and stuff throughout the day. We're going to have that article from Nathan Carroll going up shortly here at BroncoNationNews.com, what he wants to see Boise State attack in the portal. Will be you can read that in about 5 minutes on BroncoNationNews.com, maybe 10. Give me a few minutes to get packed up here and get back up to the room and get that posted. But we'll have a story on transfer portal needs and what Nathan Carroll wants to see Boise State do in the portal. That'll be up for subscribers in about 5 minutes. We'll have basketball preview as well. And then, as I said, full coverage tomorrow from Viejas Arena, exclusive coverage on Bronco Nation News from Viejas Arena with the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show coming up at 7 o'clock. So thank you guys so much. Go subscribe, BroncoNationNews.com. Go chat in the message boards. We'll see you there. We'll see you on social media, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. for the Lithia Ford of Boise pregame show. Boise State, big one against San Diego State. Proud to be down here in San Diego to provide you full coverage. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 o'clock here on Bronco Nation News, presented by Lithia Ford.
It's the all-wheel drive event at Lithia Ford of Boise. From hunting trips to ski trips to trips to Grandma's house. Nobody does AWD like LFB. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
How's your day going?
Going good. Thank you. Yes.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust rowpaint.com to get that job done right.
Really, guys?
What? Jackson's always had those game ready.
Let's go!